8.3 circles. The first day we're going to write the equations of circles, and on day 2 we will graph circles. The standard form for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where the center of the circle is hk and the radius of the circle is r. So you will need to square root this number out here. Now x and h are always partners, so you know that the h is with the x, and y and k are always partners, so the k is always in the parenthesis with the y. So what you should notice here is that the square has been completed on both letters in this form. So a basic one, example 1. Find the equation of a circle with center -3, 4 and radius 5. So we would have x plus 3 squared, because we're putting it back into the parenthesis, we change the sign, plus y minus 4 squared equals r squared is 25. Number 2. Find the equation of a circle given the diameter is 12 and the center is 2, -5. Well, we know if the diameter is 12, the radius is 6, half the diameter. So we have x minus 2 squared, again, change the sign when you put it in the parenthesis, plus y plus 5 squared equals r squared, so r squared is 36. So those would be some real basic ones. Now they'll start to get a little bit more complicated, but if you just think about it, you should be able to figure these out. Find the equation of a circle with endpoints of a diameter. So you might want to draw it. Okay? Make a diameter, which we know goes through the center of a circle. One of the endpoints is 4, 2, and the other one is -6, -8. Now what do we need to write the equation of the circle? We need the center. Alright, how would you find the center given that information? Well, the center would be the midpoint on the diameter. Well, we know the midpoint formula is to add the x's, 4 plus -6, and divide by 2, and add the y's, 2 plus -8 divided by 2. That would be -2 over 2, which is -1, and this would be -6 over 2, which would be -3. So the center of our circle is -1, -3. Now, we also need the radius. So to get the radius, we would need to figure out what this distance is. So to figure out the radius, we're going to use the distance formula. So I'm going to do the distance between this blue point, -1, -3, and -6, -8. Somebody else might do the distance of this radius. Well, we know that all radii are the same, so it doesn't really matter. So the distance formula is the square root of x minus x, so -1 minus -6 squared, plus -3 minus -8 squared. Change these signs. So we get 5 squared, which would be 25, plus 5 squared is another 25. So the square root of 50, which we know is 5 root 2, which is a decimal, but that's okay. So we want to write our equation. We got the center and we've got the radius. So we go x plus 1 squared plus y plus 3 squared, and then this equals r squared. Well, if this is equal to r, then r squared would be 5 root 2 squared, so that would be 25 times 2. So over here we want to put 50. So we're using things that we learned in earlier sections, the midpoint formula, the distance formula, what we know about circles to do these problems. A couple more examples. Find the equation of the circle with center 8, 4, going through 3, 2. So again, you might want to draw it. So the center is 8, 4. And it goes through some point 3, 2. Well, what do you know about this distance? That's a radius. So we already have the center. So we know that it's x minus 8 squared plus, let's start over there, x minus 8 squared plus y minus 4 squared. What we need to figure out is what r squared is. So over here, how would we find r? Well, again, you want to use the distance formula. So the square root of 8 minus 3 squared plus 4 minus 2 squared. So you can see you're going to do the distance formula quite a bit. It might be handy to have that program on your calculator to do this a little bit faster. 5 squared is 25 and 2 squared is 4, so you get the square root of 29. Now remember, that's what r is, but up here you need r squared. So if you square this, you're going to get simply 29. So you got to remember that's r squared. That's a common mistake. And finally, example 5, find the equation with center -3, -6, and tangent to the y-axis. This is a typo. We want to cross this off. That is not part of this problem. So again, we want to think, what does this mean? Well, first of all, if they give you the center, you should know it's x plus 3 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals. What we need to figure out is what's the radius. So draw yourself a picture. X and y axis. -3, -6. Here's the center. What does the word tangent mean? That means that it hits it one time, and it's talking about the y-axis. So this circle comes over here and hits the y-axis. Now I don't know if this is exactly the circle, but I know it only hits this y-axis one time, right there. Well, wouldn't you agree that then this is a radius? Now, what is this point? If this is -3, -6, isn't this point 0, -6? If it's tangent to that, it's going to be straight across. Now you could do the distance formula here if you wanted to, but we know that we can count because we're going straight across on graph paper. The only time you can't count the boxes is if you're going diagonally. Well, that's straight across. So isn't that 3 for your radius? Because this is -3. So you're 3 units over from the y-axis. So this needs to be 9. So you don't really need to use the distance formula because it's straight across. So that's the first day of circles. We will continue these notes on day 2.